Am I chair?
I don't
I don't
know.
know that we have a
I
chair.
don't know if we've made it official or not.
Right. I don't believe we have a chair since Jeff departed. Sorry, I didn't realize that I was being waited on for that purpose. I'll convene the meeting, acknowledging that I'm not accustomed to convening meetings or chairing meetings, and I'm likely to make mistakes in procedural matters that I hope someone will correct me on.
Jen can find you.
Great, thanks.
Okay. So we're gonna take roll call. We've convened the meeting at 3:04 p.m. Brian Largate,
Here.
Mike Galvin,
Here.
Bob Russ,
Here.
and Jim Mosier has an excused absence. But we do have a quorum. So the next thing would be to ask if there's any changes to the agenda.
So we have one change at the last board meeting. The board directed staff to research more into the endowment fund, find out how much has been paid so far, find out what our legal obligation is to keep money into the fund. Staff is currently working on that, and so we're not prepared to make a report as of this time. We plan to bring it back to the board on the 18th. So I asked that it be removed from this agenda. We'll be ready for the 18th board meeting.
Does that need to be moved? Or how does that happen?
It's just,
Pulled? Just
Pulled,
pulled? Okay.
yeah.
No formal vote or anything, just pulled.
I think we do have to take a vote.
Yeah.
if you
Is
guys
there
are
a public comment period or anything like that associated with that sort of thing?
Yes.
Let's hear from members of the public if they would like to discuss that matter.
I am Bruce Holloway from Boulder Creek. The committee met in April and May. And as I recall, Heather brought up Government Code Section 53607. That section says that a treasurer can only be appointed for 1 year. And the last time a treasurer was appointed was 3 years ago. So the district has not had a treasurer for 3 years. One of the ways that this came up was that this committee was discussing $6.5 million in a Wells Fargo checking account that was earning 0% interest. And there were suggestions that maybe we could move a few $1 million into the county investment pool because it's currently paying about 4%. And Heather said she couldn't do it because she isn't the treasurer and it might threaten her CalPERS retirement, which sounded kind of shocking. I certainly don't think that needs to happen to anyone. Anyway, the 53607 got brought up 3 times, as I recall, April, May, and then at the May board meeting. And one observation that I made about section 53607 is it requires monthly reports. And oh, there it is. I thought we weren't going to see it. So so it says you can make an appointment, the board can make an appointment for 1 year of a treasurer, and the treasurer shall make a monthly report of transactions to the legislative body. So that's that monthly report part is the part that I'm trying to point out. I remember the finance manager 15 years ago was Karen Alvarez, and Karen Alvarez did make monthly reports of transactions. The way she did that was by showing bank statements, investment fund statements. She didn't write a report, she just showed the statement. And those statements show all the transactions for that month. And they show the current rate of return you're getting, which if you don't see the statement, those bits of information are very difficult to figure out. So I just wanted to bring this up. That's what it says. Apparently a $3.4 million transfer was made in May without board approval, so I don't quite understand what the thinking was. But on the other hand, I think simply making a transfer from checking to savings or from savings to checking, I don't see that as an investment decision. So I think that it's okay for staff to make those kinds of transfers, but I do think there should be monthly reports of account balances. Thank you.
I think my only comment on that is I believe and it was before my time that was the board direction that the money be moved over.
It was.
So that's my only comment. The rest of it, we can comply with.
And for what it's worth, I know the budget committee had made the same recommendation.
Mhm. That's how it got brought up at the board meeting, was by Brian.
I'm having trouble hearing everything that you're saying.
The board directed Heather and then the acting general manager Jen to move the money over.
I didn't see the board do that.
Okay.
I mean, if that's the case, then just tell me what minutes to look at.
They were May 15th,
May 15th.
towards the very end of the meeting.
Will that information be included in the report for the 18th?
This has nothing to do with the endowment fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right, so
So you guys can discuss if you want to pull the item as recommended by Jason, and then we'll vote.
right, I'm comfortable moving the item, having the item pulled. Maybe I'll just make one suggestion as you look at that. I believe it was a habitat conservation plan that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service authorized creation of by the district. And the habitat conservation plan that my organization developed with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service had specified in it the dollar amount of the endowment. So that might be a document to look at for guidance.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Third.
Brian Largate,
Yes,
Can I comment?
I believe you already have you not?
That's what I thought the
On
comment
this
was.
item?
Well, we introduced the topic of pulling it from the agenda. You stood and spoke at length. Was that not in regard
I
to?
thought it was addressing oral communications.
we haven't
We
gotten
haven't
to
got
that
there
yet.
yet.
I thought you had moved on from deletions.
I believe you were mistaken.
Apparently it was.
Okay.
Can I speak on the deletion?
If you must.
Two things. Last week at the board meeting, I said that I couldn't see the transaction, the $55,000 transaction. I didn't see it as a check. I didn't see it as an EFT or an ACH. So I don't understand how the transaction happened, that it was not shown to the board. So that's one question I still don't understand. And the second thing is, I've asked for the whole 7 years of the endowment fund to be made available. And one of the reasons is that I suspect that the fund didn't wind up being $339,000 from a single $116,000 transaction. I suspect that there was maybe a second transaction. So it'd be good to get the whole history. So those two things. How was it that the transaction happened that we didn't see it on the bill list? And were there any other additions to the fund after inception?
All right. Any other public comments? All right. Perhaps we should proceed with the vote.
Okay. All right, so we had Brian make the motion, we had Bob Brett second it, so Brian Largate,
Yes.
Mike Galvin,
Yes.
and Bob Brett.
Yes.
Okay, the item has been pulled.
All right. Let's move to the next item of the agenda. And
That would be oral.
that would be oral communications. Please.
Already made my
proceed.
statement.
Oh, wonderful. Is there anyone else who would like to make oral communications to the board?
There's nobody online. And no one online?
Terrific.
Okay.
Any, does anyone else make oral communications besides the public? Would anyone on the committee like to make oral communications?
Nobody on the committee. There's a separate section at the bottom for committee comments.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
All right, on to new business. Let's see here, we'll have two items of new business, the first of which is the Olympia. Oh, this is the one that we just
pulled.
moved.
Yeah.
And the second is the reserve policy. So we'll receive and discuss the proposed changes to the reserve policy to possibly recommend the board of directors to approve the revisions.
So I will take this moment to introduce our newest. and
Yay! Thank goodness.
Finance manager, Cherie Freese, who hails from my hometown of Ridgecrest,
All right.
California. And she'll be bringing this forward with Heather as support.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm
We
excited to be here.
waited years for you. Anyway, great.
Okay.
I hope you don't mind some challenges.
You know, I'm up
We-
for it. I'm up
We're up for handing out challenges.
Okay, sounds good.
Good, okay.
So the reserve policy update is really just about aligning our practice with best standards for enterprise funds. The current policy that was adopted in 2021 was based on GASB 54 guidance, which is for governmental funds. We as a water district operate as an enterprise fund. So this policy is shifting to the working capital approach recommended by GFOA. It also simplifies the structure from 6 categories down to 3. It would be an operating reserve equal to 6 months of operating expenses, an emergency reserve of 4 million, and a capital reserve of 2 million. So this structure is a little bit clearer, but still provides us with adequate protection. And so that's what I have for you today, and I'm open to any questions or discussion you have.
Okay, I guess the $10 million question. And I'm, just for the record, I'm in support of this new policy. But I guess it just needs to be recognized that if we really do recognize our current market value of the district's assets at 450 million times some reasonable depreciation or replacement rate, we would really require a capital set aside of at least 10 million a year, right? And so as a district, I think we just need to understand that that's, you know, if we really value our infrastructure at that kind of a level, unfortunately, there's no way for us to actually have that kind of reserve and to be able to, you know, start doing the longer term maintenance that might be required on $450 million. And so I think that the $2 million CapEx number is reasonable. And I guess it aligns with depreciation for what the district recognizes annually about that amount. And so between the 4 million of emergency set aside and then the increase to half 50% operating expenses, I'm comfortable that that'll get us through most disasters. And I don't know if Jason's had a chance to bring you up to speed with the kinds of disasters the district has suffered in the last 5 years, but it's kind of like the perfect storm in many ways, right? But we have to make a trade-off. And so the trade-off is if we have everything set aside in capital reserves, it's obviously millions of fewer dollars than for us to do the many projects that we have to complete. And that's where I'm really looking to you for guidance and help. And how do we manage these, coordinate them, raise a bond and all that kind of stuff. So any opinions you have on any of those issues, you know, the 3 categories, CapEx, you know, I would love to hear, just see what your opinions are. But I guess just wanted to set the table for some of these bigger issues. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, being 3 days in, I don't have a whole lot
You've
of.
got a full command of everything going on.
Exactly, yeah, so I'm quickly getting up to speed, but I don't have too many opinions other than I agree with everything that was written in the policy. It aligns with GFOA best practices. And the 50% operating expenses is something that I did in my previous place of employment. So I'm very familiar with that, and building reserves is something that I've done over the last couple of years, so.
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Do you have questions?
Nope.
All right, so I have a question. The capital reserve. So I guess when I conceptualize a reserve policy, I think of a chunk of money that's set aside for a rainy day or a deluge that destroys all our assets or what have you. And the and yet we've got the emergency reserve, which is easy to conceptualize for the deluge, the operating reserve, which I could understand if there was some financial crisis or something so that we don't get any new revenue for 6 months and we need to pay our staff to keep things going. The capital reserve, I'm a little confused about, and I'm wondering, is that from an offset of depreciation? I could see taking that $2 million and spending it up, fixing some depreciating asset or replacing a depreciating asset. I could see setting it aside so it accumulates up to a larger amount that could then pay for a large depreciated asset in the future. Or I could see that just being money we don't spend in case we have some capital related, more emergency type need. And I don't know what to expect for those $2 million. Is that going to be spent every year and replenished, or is that just we're always going to keep at least $2 million in a capital reserve account, which might get above that, but then we don't spend below the 2 million, or do we spend that down to zero as long as we put it back to 2 million the next year? Help me understand how that's going to be used.
Sure, he's far more the expert on this, but I can tell you from my previous experience, it serves as a buffer. Like so everything you said is pretty much true. But so if we have a job, a capital job that's starting, we have that money sitting there that we can pull from while the cash capital is replenishing it. So the money coming in may not be enough to fund the capital project right now. So we pull the fund down and then it builds back up over the year, like you were saying. That's usually how it works.
Yep. Okay, so it is a live account. It's not a reserve that's locked away somewhere.
It's not a restricted reserve for that. Yeah.
Yep. Terrific. But the emergency reserve would be, if that's fair to say, set aside and not touched, because who knows when the emergency is going to happen.
Right.
Gotcha. And with that emergency reserve, would that be eligible for investment in some highly liquid form that could generate some income, but then be liquidated if we needed it in a hurry?
We had our emergency reserve down there in a county account, which would earn some small interest rate.
Yep. Great. Terrific. That's what I was curious about. And I'm in support of this policy. The one other thing that I believe we went through the exercise of, but if you could refresh my memory, in terms of running aground in an emergency. So we've got this $4 million worth of water under our boat. And if a $4 million emergency hits, we'll just barely get by. Reflecting over the past 10 years, I think we looked at this, the worst, we've had some terrible stuff go down. And my recollection is that the annual impact on our budget was never exceeded 4 million, even in the worst of the past 10 years.
Yeah, and then there was my understanding is there was a misunderstanding that the district was running out of money. And it was more of the money in this account wasn't quite enough to cover everything, but they hadn't pulled from the reserves yet. So yeah, no, we never ran to a point of the district is out of reserves.
Right. Yeah, that's excellent. And now I'm remembering, Heather, all of the detailed tables you've produced going back about 10 years, I think, to look at that. Thank you for that reminder.
If I could have another comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also, Heather, you've done a wonderful job pulling these historical numbers together. I did just want to point out that on page 42 of the vacuum package, it does contrast the two, historical policy versus the recommended policy. And basically the difference between them is about $6 million that the new policy effectively frees up and allows us to use on other capital projects that we decide on a priority basis. And this is going to be a huge part of this coming year's decision making is which projects get funded and how do we do that? Because we have this working capital that can be used for things. And so I think that page 42 really shows what it would be, where we're literally sitting on 11 or 12 million dollars worth of the capital reserve versus the 2 million reserve. And so that's the trade-off I was pointing out at the beginning. And just to echo Jason's comment, right, as a district, we have never suffered a loss more than 4 million. And so I think that between the explicit 4 million and the operating 2 million, which works out to about 2, and then the cap reserve of 2 million, we should be in good shape to handle most perfect storms. Okay.
Right, excellent. And so my understanding of the implication of that freed up
Working capital.
working capital is that is kind of a one-time release from reserve into working capital. Is that the way to phrase it? Is the reserve part of working capital? I'm still trying to understand the
Yeah,
jargon.
the reserve is like the blanket that goes over it. And so working capital reserve is saying how much of working capital do you not want to restrict?
And so really our working capital is the bigger number there, the 14 million, right?
Yep.
At the very top column there, and then projected to go to 15 and then even 18 million 2 years out, right? So that's effectively money that can be used for things that the board and staff decide are priorities. And so had we kept or tried to use the 2.5% of the value of all of our assets, we would actually have a negative working capital reserve for the first 2 years and wouldn't even be positive until 2 years from now.
So we would be totally hamstrung. Our hands would be tied and we would theoretically have to borrow funds just to have them sitting here in case of a super emergency.
Right.
So, yeah. So in a way it frees it up, but just from a policy point of view, it allows us to access that money and have the authority to do so.
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other perspectives from staff that staff would like to share to?
Is Heather still online?
She is.
She is? Oh, I
Oh,
would
yes.
love to hear from Heather. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for your comments. The policy is, as Cherie mentioned, it is recommended by the GFOA. I believe it still gives you the conservativeness that this committee has asked for, as well as the board. And so I think it's a good policy for this committee to recommend to the board.
Terrific. Thank you. And thank you for all your contributions to it and over the years.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from the committee? Comments from the public?
I guess the only thing I would say about it is the district has its rates set so that 50% of revenue is from fixed charges. So even if people stopped using water for a year, their bills would still amount to 50% of what is expected revenue. So that 50% reserve, 50% operating reserve seems kind of high to me. And the reason that it concerns me a little bit is because what I'm worried about is, I mean, the district, it seems like the district's got about $13 million in cash right now, and it can't spend any of it because that's how much the reserve is. So that's what worries me, is if you jack up the reserve to too high an amount, then you can't spend any money next year. So that 50% that got raised in this policy from 3/8 to half of a year, and it seems a little high to me. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, any comments or questions at this juncture?
Good.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the reserve policy?
I'll make that motion that the Budget and Finance Committee approve to recommend to the Board of Directors for their approval the stated capital reserve policy that is described here in the package. There's a better way to say that.
No, that's
Jen.
fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
not very elegant.
Can we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
We'll take a vote. Brian Larday,
Yes.
Mike Galvin,
Yes.
and Bob Russ.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, so back to the agenda, and I think that was the second substantive matter,
Mhm.
and I forget what's next,
There was no unfinished business.
right? Informational material.
That's just information for people if they want to access the minutes. And then number 7 is committee comments. So this is if you wanted to make a comment or ask for anything to be on the future agenda.
Terrific. I would like for next time's agenda to have a chair selection process,
Okay.
since it's fallen on me, I think, without full process, and we should have a process.
Yeah, we were waiting for our 5th member.
That's right, and
Yeah.
good, that'll be good to have a full committee,
Yeah,
hopefully,
we're hoping
next
to have
meeting.
that at the
should
next
have it.
meeting. Yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
Good.
And then it would also be good to have a discussion about the day and time of the meeting, just to make sure that it works for all the committee members and
Mhm.
staff. And then one item that I would love to initiate conversation on is the chain of events for capital projects, where there is principally through the engineering committee, a workflow that develops eventually a shovel-ready project with a bid package and a contract that's ready to sign, and would then trigger the expenditure of funds when that contract is signed to build the capital improvement. It would be helpful to understand how the finance committee will have a window into that workflow, so that as projects are approaching readiness, we're able to ensure that there's adequate funds available to actually build them in a timely manner. With some of these reserves, that's maybe not that worrisome. But when we talk about bond issuance, this whole question of how to bundle projects into the issue so that they can all be paid for with a bond means kind of syncing up our calendars, because we'll have maybe a 6-month lead time on securing bond funds. And then all of these projects themselves may have variable lead times depending on how far along they are in engineering and permitting and all that stuff. And trying to have them all stick the landing may require some coordination between committee workflows.
Just to add to Brian's request, which I think is right on. Part of our daydream is that we have some master Gantt chart with these engineering projects, because it's like 40 million plus, right? And then how do you, as he was saying, how do you sync up that Gantt chart of these projects and what their priorities are? And then in a way, how much slack do they have? What's on a critical path? What can slip? What can't? And then how do you sync that up with now not only the freed up capital reserves, but we've been talking about, is 19 million the right number to float in a bond, or do we do it in 2 tranches? Because we don't want to end up in a situation that we've suffered from in the past, where we were sitting on excess funds and got penalized for it for not using them within the 3-year window. So again, it's all in, how do we plan for the bonds? How much should they each be? What can the district afford? Just all of those kinds of things, because we have a lot of work to do. And and really effectively limited funds. And so we want to just be as efficient as we can to take on the priority projects that we all agree are on the docket.
I don't want to steal from Garrett's prestige. Because there's gonna be a reveal, but he's currently working on a Gantt chart for all the upcoming projects, as well as a scoring system for prioritization, so.
Fantastic.
Is that terrific?
Yeah.
You might encourage him to work with Chris on that a little bit. One of the big challenges is we have so much stuff in the sandhills and in streams that the regulatory review phase, and sometimes there's multiple ones, can be very unpredictable.
Yeah, my thought project is that all the management staff will sit down and go through this, so we can have finance say, this is the monies that we're gonna need at these moments in the Gantt chart. You know, the engineering can have that timeline, operations can help with the prioritization of what really is needed the most. And of course, environmental can be there to say what the hurdles we may have to overcome are.
Right.
Nice.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great news. Okay. All right, looking forward to it. Yeah.
All right. Is there any public comment on this phase? Is that customary?
No,
No.
but you can ask.
Any public comment at this phase?
And next time the topic is.
Okay,
It's future agenda items.
very good. I will adjourn the meeting. Is that what happens next? Okay, we are hereby adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
All
for
right.
bearing with me.